Hey everybody, this is Adam. Let's take a tour through the week 7 assignment, shall we? And see if we can understand the requirements together. I've got it open right here, and here's the project page. It tells us we work at a call center, and we have some data. Here's our data, and we want to look at the data, calculate a column, create some charts, create a dashboard, and create some recommendations. Here's the metrics that they give us. We have inbound calls. Let's just clean this up real quick, shall we? I'm gonna bold those things, and then I double click on all the columns to make them wider. The average speed of answer in seconds, abandoned calls, and call abandonment rate, which hasn't been calculated yet. It also shows a month, but the month has a number, which isn't terribly useful. It says the month column contains dates, but they're showing up as numbers, and can you please fix that? So maybe that's the first thing we should do, is take this and make it a format. Now, you could choose something like short date, and you see the beginning of every month. I would make a custom format here, because the dates don't quite have the thing that I'm looking for. Here, I want maybe something actually like that right there, I think. Let's see what that looks like, huh? There we go. That's what we're looking for. Okay. So here are the requirements. And it says, oh, by the way, we're not going to be very prescriptive anymore. As we go throughout the semester, they're going to give us less and less direction and more guidance so that we improve critical thinking skills and solve problems creatively. We still have to meet the rubric, but there's a lot more leeway in how you meet the rubric. They're not going to give you a recipe for doing stuff. So the first thing is, I guess we better calculate this right here. You need to calculate this using the data above. And so an abandonment rate would be the abandoned calls divided by the total calls, right? And so it's this divided by this. And it's a percentage, it's a rate. And you probably go like this. There we go. And if you double click on it, there you go. So there's our abandonment rate. Now that we have all the data in our thing, it says we want a chart sheet. So we're going to create a chart sheet and rename it charts, and include one chart for for each of the 4 metrics. And so that would be something like, let's go ahead and select all the data and give it a name, like call data, something like that. And because I'm here, I'm gonna go ahead and do this, and I'm gonna call it month 2, because I know I'm gonna need that in a second. So inside the charts, we're gonna add a new chart, right? Insert, and we're just gonna select a chart right now. Doesn't really matter. And we're gonna click on the chart design. We're gonna select the data, and we're gonna say call data like this, and boom, there's a chart for us. It has all the data on there, and this isn't terribly useful. What you're going to want to do is have a chart for every single one of the things. So click these off. Did I hit apply? Maybe not. Let's just look at our inbound calls and then click the apply button right here. There we go. And there's one chart, and we need 4 charts, one for each one. Okay. Once you have your charts, and of course, label the axes, give each one a different name. You get the idea here. Okay. Do all the right things for the chart formatting. provide 4 insights based on what patterns you recognized in the data. So that's where we go over here and we look at these charts. We look at the raw data and what can you tell about it? What might you say about the data? Like if we look at this, you could say something like our call volume has increased each month pretty steadily since the call center opened, something like that, right? So look at each of the charts and make a determination of what you think. And again, they're asking you to think like the owner of the company. What data would tell you that your company's being successful? Okay, I think more calls is generally a good thing. Maybe customer support isn't too happy because when they like the calls to go down, customers are happier and they don't need to call. So, but in general, your insight here could be something like that. And so you'll want to create 4 insights based on that, and then explain why that is. What chart did you use to tell you that? Okay. The next thing it says is like a simple dashboard. So as we've done in the past, a dashboard, and you're gonna a drop down list for picking the month and year, right? So you're gonna create a data validation using a list, and I'm gonna say equals month like this. And here's our months that we can choose. The format looks bad, so you probably need to fix that by putting that same style that we applied there. And you want to format it correctly as an input, and you want to put your labels over here, and then you want to do a lookup, right, on this thing, right, a VLOOKUP into the sheet to get these other numbers here. Format the whole thing pretty. Okay, all the things, turn off grid lines, etc., etc. Dashboard probably comes first. Recommendations and the chart probably comes second and third, and then sheets fourth, something like that, maybe. And so that's kind of yeah, here we are. We created the dashboard drop down and use lookup functions for the other pieces of information in there. Format all the charts to look professional, access labels and chart titles, and then follow the standards of professionalism. So let's walk through this. You created a new worksheet labeled charts. There's one chart for each of the metrics. On the recommendations, provide 4 insights based on what patterns you recognized. Create a new worksheet labeled dashboard. On the dashboard sheet, create a drop-down list. Use lookup functions to display these 4 columns. All the charts look professional, adding access labels and chart titles. Create clearly labeled and formatted appropriately to distinguish input cells and output cells. Use the correct date format and use color, and the date cells are properly formatted. Okay. I think that's everything here. Again, you've done multiple dashboards before, and this is the first time I think we've done charts, or second time maybe. So that might be new for you. This is more challenging here. Clearly, you have to look at the data and make some insights. If I could make a recommendation, is maybe some insights might come. Like, for example, is there a correlation between inbound calls, how many calls we're getting, and the number of abandoned calls? And do you see spikes when these are spiking? Not necessarily. So I don't know that more calls means more abandoned calls. So compare different data sets together like this and see if you can see any correlations in the data. Oh, that's really interesting. So there's some advice on how to create some insights too. Okay. I hope this was useful. You guys have a great week. You can do this.